Oh, wow. I am live. How about that? How about that? I don't really be wearing headphones, but I'm by myself, so. And my mic's on, so yes, you can hear me. For those of you watching later, this is a test live. I'm kind of tinkering around, getting ready to put together another podcast. If you're not familiar, I used to do several podcasts in the past. One that's most well known was People Are Fucking Stupid. This one is more based about RPG games, tabletop RPG, that my own I developed. We're going to call this podcast the Aethix Chronicles Podcast. I got a huge banner up here. Oh, I guess you can't completely. You can only see part of it because of the angle of my camera. Anyway, I'll fix that for the actual casting, but that's what this is. This little test is for. So I developed my own RPG. I'm an old guy, by the way. I've been playing RPGs since the early '80s. Started with Dungeons and Dragons first ed, played second ed, third ed. I played Robo. Oh my god. What was it? Mech Warrior, Robotech. I've played tons of them. Warhammer 40K, and I'm talking about the old ones. And then when they turned into the D20 system in the 90s, I played several of those. I played the original Star Wars RPG, which was played with D6s. I really liked that because it was opposed rolls, but it got tedious because if you ever played some of the high level NPCs, or if you yourself had a high level character, I mean, they weren't level. You didn't level up, right? You just increased your skill level, right? You had to roll like an excess of like 12d6. So it was a pretty cool system, but required a lot of d6s. Um, so anyway, long story short, I played a lot of different RPGs, and when I started playing D&D with my own campaign, because when I started DMing, um, people encouraged me to create my own campaigns, because I was creative on the go. We would run modules that were pre-written for us, but a lot of times, I would just be handed a monster manual and have to come up with something on the fly, and people like that. So eventually it became so regular. I named my own world, and it became a thing. And um, this is the mid to late 90s when this started. Dark Aethix was formed back then, and then we played for years, and then I wrote a book. I wrote a book series. It got published in 2010. There was 3 books in the original series, and now we have a bunch, right? Because I wrote a bunch of prequels. Anyway, the original books were based off of the characters that were played. One of my good friends passed away in 2012 of cancer. I dedicate the whole series to him to keep his memory alive, because I was a different person back then. I was like very naive, very, very sheltered. And anyway, I was way different. And this guy kind of turned me into the morbid humor version of myself I am today. Um, don't want to share too much on here because I don't know. I don't want to really push the boundaries on this platform. But what he did in gaming would get him canceled in today's world for sure, for sure. Um, but I'm Gen X, so while I wouldn't say I was offended in the time, I was questioning this person this person's actions in my game because like I said, I was a different person back then. These days, it's pretend. So you're getting out this darkness, whatever, so you don't do it in real life. I'm okay with it these days, as long as you're doing it in RPG. But even in RPG, there's repercussions. So played all those repercussions out. They didn't like all that. Anyway, so that's the kind of hit and miss of the creation of Dark Aethics, and now it's its own RPG system. The book releases on the 1st. Yes, I know there's some issues with it already, but that's okay because this is playtest version. So this is probably going to become a collector's because this has only one life path. See, they're called classes in other systems like D&D. In mine, they're called life paths. And a lot of people would get frustrated if they had a whole party of barbarians. This is my best example. A whole party of barbarians. And they're basically all the same. And you could make minor changes later on down the line with the variant rules in the D20 system. But they were still ultimately the same class, right? It's the same character, different personality, whatever. On paper, they were the same. In this, you can make them different. And there's some things you have no control over in this, which I did that for a reason. Because even when I play a character, I love playing Rangers, and it would basically be the same character over and over again. I would make minor alterations to the character, which is kind of what inspired the idea to utilize. I think some other systems do. I think D&D started doing it in 4th ed, maybe 5th ed. They do traits, and I make people randomly roll the trait of the character, so they have to utilize that trait, or that can play the character that way. I mean, it's not always a personality trait. Sometimes it's a physical trait, and for my playtest character, my very first character here, Ahad Shabor, which means broken one in Hebrew, his trait is muscle bound. So he's basically like a He-Man, right? He's 5'6" too. 5'6", 176 pounds, I believe. So he's short and stocky, looking like He-Man. So he's really, really strong, but not very agile, right? So the muscle bound trait gives you all these awesome bonuses to strength checks, attack, damage, everywhere you want it to benefit you, but it gives you the same modifier as a penalty towards dexterity. So while my character can hit well and do a lot of damage, he's easier to hit. Can't dodge as well. So my character would be forced to utilize attacks to parry. So if you're not familiar with my system, I don't use the stagnant armor class. I do opposed rolls. So when your character is attacked, that's the DC you have to either use an attack action and parry or dodge. Dodge is a reaction. It doesn't cost you anything, right? But if you're worried that you can't dodge it and you have to parry it, then that means you're foregoing one of your attacks or all of your attacks that round, right? And so each round initiative is reestablished, which sounds tedious, but there's a reason for it. It's basically to emulate the realistic aspect of a duel. When you're backing your opponent on their heels, and then the momentum might shift, and then now suddenly they're backing you on your heels. That's what that's there to emulate. So yes, it's tedious, but it's also a way to gain experience, because anytime you win an opposed roll, that's additional experience that you keep track of. So that's bonus experience. It takes a lot longer to go up in level because I went back to the roots of RPG systems. Most people are focused on the experience points value, but not what they represent. So the experience point value represent your actual experience um, playing that character in the gaming system. So that character, his experience in battle, in problem solving, whatever, um, that's your gaining player experience for that character, and that's what that's supposed to represent. It's not just, oh, I fought a zombie, so now I know I should crush its skull. It's not just that; it's everything. And that's what the experience points are supposed to represent. Um, it's not just supposed to be a number, a goal to get to ascend in level. So um, with my system, the way I created it, I want the focus to be mainly on playing and having fun, and not on, oh, I want to gain a lot of experience and go up in level really fast. The going up in level is all great, but your character should already be your character at when you start it, right? In my system. And so because like in D&D you gain another die code in hit points. That drove me nuts. It still drives me nuts. I visualize things. So if I roll to hit your stagnant number and I roll damage, technically I wounded you. But if you have like 120 hit points and I only did 2 points of damage, where's the wound? So they say, oh, it means you didn't really hit them. It was like a last minute dodge. They're trying to explain it, right? And so it gets a little annoying, because if you're going to explain it that way and it's a last minute dodge, then what about the poison effects from my blade if I didn't really wound you? You follow me? There's too much overlap and conflicting information. So with mine, if you get hit, it's a wound, right? You're dropped to the ground with a wound, and anybody who falls prone drops their weapon, right? I mean, obviously, if you have a gauntlet, you don't drop a gauntlet, but if you have a weapon, you drop it. If you did not deflect or dodge that attack, you're hit, and you're usually dropped, right? If it's a wound. Now, if it's subdual damage, then there's different rules applied, right? And that's one of the things I think I forgot to put in there. But yeah, I try to keep it more realistic, which for me, in my experience of gaming, it makes it more fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm nerding out too much and I'm going to turn people off from my system. I don't know. But for me, I'm play testing it. I've been play testing it forever now, working out the bugs. I want to play test it with people who aren't familiar with my system. That way I can get different feedback, because the feedback I got from people who know me, it might be biased, I personally have fun. I was just playtesting it by myself. I like to call it playing with myself in D&D. But I was running, because I'm playtesting my module, trying to get it ready, and I'm like, this is reminding me why it's designed for 4 to 6 characters, right? Because I'm playing a lone character, and I almost lost my lone character in the very first random encounter. Thankfully, things worked to my favor. Excuse me. It's like midnight. Yeah, after midnight. I should probably go to bed. But anyway, I'm still running it. I just took a break from running it temporarily, because I'm like, what should I do differently? Because I like this character. I want him to successfully complete this adventure. And so I'm playing it in increments and writing my notes, which is how I wrote my books. Believe it or not, I play things out. So the only thing I plot out is the adventure, and all that information. And then I actually develop the characters, give them their character sketches, the personalities, all that jazz, character sheets, and then I play it out. But anyone that's interested in trying out my RPG, the book goes on sale on the 1st. And as I showed you, it's called Enter the Barbarian, Dark Aethix Campaign Setting RPG. And it's by yours truly, Kevin C. Davis, and that's my real name. My pen name is WS Klass, which I almost accidentally released this under that name. I don't want to because I want to keep my nonfiction under my real name and my fiction under my pen name. So it's related to my fiction. However, it's a game. So it's already copywritten. So haha, you can't steal my shit. But yeah. The adventure I'm developing, though, it can be utilized as an ongoing campaign. Some of the main villains, well, one of the main villains is really fun. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. I think it's fun. It might offend those that are supporters of our current president-elect. I respect whoever's in office, right? I don't have to like them, but I'm Gen X. I was taught to respect authority figures, and if I don't like what they do, I vote them out. That's how the process is supposed to work. I don't want to talk politics. But that being said, I followed parity law, and I created a nice villain that represents our current president-elect, and I thought it was a little fun. His slogan is "Help make the boneyard great again." So, if you're not a fan of our current president-elect, you might enjoy this a lot. Come play test it with me. As soon as I'm done play testing it and working all the bugs out of the adventure, it's also going up for sale, and it will have the formulas for certain monsters and how to create them and advance them. It shows the system. It works just like you would create a character. I simplified everything. Yeah. I mean, it's advanced. It's a little complicated, but once you learn it, it's pretty simple. It seems complicated, but it's really not. Ironically, I created it and it felt complicated until I did it a couple times. So I get it. I also learn by doing, so I can write something out, and then when I try to do it, if it doesn't work, then I change the verbiage, and then it might work better, right? So that's part of playtesting. So this whole book's going to be revised by the time we're done playtesting this. So it's probably going to be a collector, right? That's how I see it, because once I get all the revisions done and I rewrite it and upload it, the new version will have all of the life paths and not just the barbarian. But for now, we're just doing the barbarian. I think I will have everything ready by 2026 for the full RPG. This is the year of playtesting it and getting the bugs worked out. And then I will really, really, really push it next year. Not next year, but on 2026. I'll really, really push it. But yeah, any questions, reach out to me, wsklass@wsklass.com. I check my YouTube from time to time. I don't check it a lot. So if you post messages on here, I don't always see the notifications, but I will look for them. But anyhow, thank you all for your support and love. Hope this excites you. Yeah, feel free to reach out.